Hi, Steve.
Hi, Jim.
So, with record collecting, you and we've talked about this before that we may or may not be completists when it comes to certain artists. But is there a step beyond completist?
Jim, I think there is. And that next step beyond complete is complete insanity.
And welcome once again to Two Guys Talking About Records, a vinyl community podcast where each week we two guys flirt with our insanity and talk about records as we go through our collections, both binging, purging, and adding to. My name's Jim, and I own a record store.
And I am Steve, and I guess I'm a flirt. Wow. But I'm a record collector, a very flirty one.
With the idea of completist versus what lies beyond.
Yeah, what lies beyond. Some people seem to have issues with that one.
And if you folks are wondering just what the heck we're talking about other than records today, what lies beyond completist, according to the conversation Steve and I have been having and will have on today's episode, is our most collected artists. Okay, you can be a completist and say, okay, I'm a completist with studio albums. I'm a completist with this all regular official releases. Or you can take that extra step and say, oh, man, what is this weirdness that I'm looking at with regards to this particular artist? So
Yeah.
that's what we're going to take a look at today. No surprises on my end whatsoever for those of you who've been watching and listening to us for a while. What the most collected artists in my collection are, and there probably won't be any surprises on your end either, will there, Steve?
No, probably not. You can hear us talk about them an awful lot. But that doesn't mean that you tune off
No.
because now we're just going to expound upon it.
Well, the only surprise to me, and I got to admit, I was surprised when I went through the numbers, was like, do I really have that much Rush? Do I really have that much Pink Floyd? And the answer, spoiler alert, is yes. Oh my goodness, this is a weird one. So we will get to that in just a couple of moments, but as we do each and every week. Oh, and I do have a couple of other news items I want to bring up, Steve. A news item and
Okay.
and an interesting drop off here at the store that's just disappointing. But why don't we do our most recent pickups if we could first? We'll get through some for you, and I've got three things here to show off for me as well. What kind of
Well,
new and
all right.
exciting stuff do you have rolling in this week?
Well, very little has rolled in. And if I don't get something next week, I will be totally nothing new.
Oh no.
But a package from Radio Wasteland did roll in, because everyone, I do order from Jim. I just said, just one album here, another album there, if I find something I want. And I got in Leafy. I believe now. Hold on. I actually had to get this. Let me leve,
Leve. Leve.
leve. Oh, oui, leve. But she's from Iceland, and her real name is Leve Lin Bing Jandortur. Her mother's Chinese,
I'll take your word for it.
classical violinist, and
Okay.
her dad's Icelandic. So there we have it, and she's an identical twin.
I did not know
Yeah.
this.
So we really don't know, is this leve or not? We can't tell. But so I got this, and this really is not. I'm trying to think why I decided to get this.
Oh
I like
no.
it. This is the first album. Yeah, I know. What the hell? It just sounds like normal, doesn't
Yeah.
it? Why did I buy that? Okay, so first off, I put this record on my turntable, and my wife comes by and goes, "Oh, well, that sounds good." Now that's never been said, ever, 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 ever. So it's like, boy, did I buy the wrong album or what? So she liked it. It does have a neat sound. Leve, she has this old school kind of a big band
Yeah.
jazz
Yeah.
type feel to her music, but her lyrics are all new. They're all now, and she does do some stuff from the Great American Songbook. And she went to Berklee College of Music in Boston. I mean, she's well familiar with that songbook. But the fact is, she takes that sound and puts in lyrics that are about now, breakups, different things about being a woman. It's very, very interesting. This is quite it's a couple record set. There's some holes there because, the name of the album, maybe just for fun, everyone would want to know, A Matter of Time. Oh, so we have a clock, and there's a booklet with, like most booklets, it has pictures, which those of you on Spotify, I'm sure you're really enjoying seeing that. But the lyrics are in there, and
it's quite the impressive booklet too, actually.
It is. It's very nice. This is really, really, this is great packaging. This is very good. I really enjoyed it. It's from 2025, I believe it came out. And since I'm going to Iceland, I'm trying to catch up on my Icelandic, but she sings in English, so it did not help me whatsoever. But when I go to Iceland, I can go leve, and they're going to think I'm cool.
So, you're going to be somewhat limited. You've either got leve or Bjork to deal with there.
Yes, yes, I have Bjork, and there are a couple leathers. What's that? The one that does a lot of weird sounds.
Bjork.
That'll come to me. So last week on my Sunday show, I showed an album that was kind of country, and someone goes, "Well, Steve, you're just going country now, aren't you?" And I could have took offense to that, Jim, but no. Instead, I bought Stacey Musgrave. So whoever said that comment, there you go.
Casey Musgrave.
Casey Musgrave. Yeah, Casey. What did I say? Stacey?
You did.
Casey?
That's okay.
Oh. It's her sister, Stacy, who's a friend of Casey. All right. Actually, I think Stacy's the name of this big bull that's on the front. I don't. Well, no, that's a bull, isn't it? But all right. So I have a few different Casey Musgrave albums, and I enjoy them. I think she has a great voice. I've liked every one of them. She's a little more pop oriented than your typical country western would be. The vinyl is very kind of fancy, swirly, blue and red, white, and blue, just in time for 250th anniversary. We salute it.
The technical name of that color, by the way, as I recall, was Rodeo Clown Swirl.
Rodeo Clown. Wow. I bet you it's right on this sticker or something. Yeah, it is. This is the Rodeo Clown edition. So, okay. Wow. This is very good. I enjoyed it. She just has a soft, kind of quieter voice. Again, sings about what's going on now, her life, everything like that, because we all care. But it's quite enjoyable. I liked it. It's not my favorite Casey Musgrave album, but I'd heard some samples and I liked what I heard, and so it was good. I got to feel like my wife heard that too. She would say, "I like that album," so that would be 2 for 2.
2 for 2. You're bringing her around.
Yeah. So. And because of this, so I had these 2 albums that I feel Patty would really, really like. And so I thought I'm going to get a 3rd album that I think she might really, really like. Never mind the Bullocks, it's the Sex Pistols.
Yep.
And she hasn't listened to this one yet either, though she's heard it in the car, and I'm pretty sure has wondered. This is the, what is it, the Rhino one?
Yep.
Yeah, the Rhino.
The Rhino Hi-Fi version.
Hi-Fi. Yep, Rhino Hi-Fi version. And because I have an original, I got a Japanese, so you need this like a hole in the head. But I bought it because it's the Sex Pistols. It's one of my all-time favorite albums. And this green, the way that green is on this orange, it kind of moves at times. It's kind of it's a little trippy if you look at it. Right. Black vinyl. It does come. Okay, folks. So what really sold me on this is it had an insert with some writing. I thought, great, cool. I don't have that telling about the album. Now, there's not a lot of writing on there, and it's not, probably worth the extra $15 it costs, but I have it, and I feel good about it, and that's all that matters.
I've always been kind of curious. We've heard a lot of good things, and I've listened to a couple of the Rhino Hi-Fi series. They've got the the Rhino Reserve that come in a little lower than the Rhino Hi-Fi at that $40 range. Is that an album? It's the Sex Pistols. Is that an album where high fidelity matters a great deal, or is it just still noise when you get to that?
I absolutely don't think it matters whatsoever. I mean, it's the freaking Sex Pistols. It isn't like you're trying to listen. Did you hear the violin, or did you hear that? I mean, it's loud. It comes at you. Crank it up. But it had an insert, Jim. So
there you go.
Yeah, it's worth it. An extra. I mean, I absolutely adore this album. Can I tell? I haven't put on to do a comparison, but if I did, folks, I probably couldn't tell anyway. It's like, they both sound really good. I like them both. I'll keep them both. Well, actually, 3 because I got the Japanese one too. So that's part of the insanity, Jim.
It is, and that's why we do what we do, and we love it.
Yep. So that's all I have, and yeah, I'm totally caught up with every new thing I've had.
Yeah. Goodness. Okay. Well, we'll have to get you some more. My side, I've just got a few.
I'm sure you will.
This is, yeah. I'm actually kind of moon centric with these first ones, and I got to be careful. A couple weeks ago, there was a comment on our video when we were talking after David and you showed the album you got, saying, I don't want to see that album cover anymore. Sorry, you got one more time on this. This is the First Boy on the Moon album. Demons. I finally got my copy from David over in Sweden, and we got a few for the store. And don't need to go too much. We've talked about this a lot. It's a great album. I love the sound. David did a great job putting it together, and it's kind of a very neat cover. Very bright. And it's an outspoken cover. So happy to have this in the collection. Short story here too, and I sent David a note on this. When the copies showed up here at the store, I opened my copy up, threw it on the turntable, and was listening to it. Had a customer come in. What is that? And I sold a copy off the turntable within a half an hour of the package getting here. So I had to let David know that happened. And it was very cool. So we still have a couple left, and I may end up getting some more if those end up going too. Secondly, this is also moon-centric, and this is from an artist that I've got a couple of other stuff. It's a Michigan artist by the name of Rebecca Goldberg, and it's her soundtrack to A Trip to the Moon. I absolutely love this album cover. I'm a fan. I used to teach film, remember that. This is the Georges Méliès 1902 film, A Trip to the Moon. Just a groundbreaking sci-fi film at its time, its turn of century. He not only was experimenting with narrative in the early days of filmmaking, but with special effects, with kind of a stop-start motion with regards to film. Nothing by today's standards, obviously, but still a great, groundbreaking movie at the time. Well, Rebecca, she is a DJ and a techno acid artist from the Detroit area. And I've talked to her before on our channel. Just years ago, we did an interview with her, one of the other videos we've done. But I've followed her for a while. And this is actually a release from 2016. She had made that. So for the 10th anniversary, this was pressed on vinyl for the very first time. And it's a short EP thing because the movie itself is short. It's under 15 minutes. But she designed a techno acid instrumental soundtrack to Méliès' Trip to the Moon. And it's actually very, very cool. So I got a couple of these for the store as well. And this is on Spotify, so I will be able to have a sound sample for those of you who are curious. And
I'm looking. I'm very curious on that.
Even little stickers that she sent with them as well. And I don't know if anybody, the little download card has a QR code. I don't like doing QR codes, but you can scan that to watch the film mixed with her original soundtrack that she had created. So, black vinyl on this one. Labels are cool, but that's Rebecca Goldberg, A Trip to the Moon. Steve, we're going to try to get her on the podcast down the line because she spins vinyl to that Detroit underground scene, which I think is something that's very interesting. So
it is. There's some really neat stuff. A number of years ago, Jim, there was a store down there that specialized in it, but they were closing. So I went in there. They had all these CDs and albums, and I'm just grabbing. Yeah, I mean, I have no idea what I'm buying. I was like, try this, try that, and some was pretty good. And some of it was, when the flood took it, it was just, okay,
Just okay.
good riddance.
Well, and you speak of Detroit record stores. That's actually where I met Rebecca. She was working at the Detroit Record Club several years ago when I stopped in there to go check some stuff, and we got talking. I said, I own a store up in Midland. She goes, oh, well, here's my record. So kept in touch, and
Yes,
so
right.
it was kind of neat. All right, last one this week is another acquaintance, Steve Brown, who is in the Rush tribute band, Moving Pictures, wearing one of their T-shirts over in Scotland. He's also the head of Rush Fest Scotland.
Yeah.
We've been doing a lot of stuff with him over the years as far as distributing the U.S. I do the U.S. shipments for his Neil Peart tribute albums. He had a new one pop up that's not a Neil Peart tribute album, but it's from a British pianist by the name of David Sanderson. And this is an album called Rush for Solo Piano. And it is exactly what it says it is, Steve. It is Rush music set to just a solo piano movement. So it's very interesting. He does Farewell to Kings and Xanadu, Closer to the Heart, Hemispheres, and a big medley. And it's just Mr. David Sanderson playing piano, playing Rush music. So interesting stuff. It's very cool. And so I got a couple of these for the store. And I did all the shipping for Steve over in Scotland to the few U.S. folks that bought this. Cover, by the way, was designed by Hugh Syme, who did a majority of the Rush album art work over the years. And so he's brought on board to do this one. So very neat.
Did you say Xanadu, the song was on there?
Yes, but not that one.
Oh, it's the David John version.
There's a Rush song called Xanadu. There's a Rush song called Xanadu, which has nothing to do with Olivia Newton-John.
Okay, just want to clarify. Got it.
Clarify on that. But speaking of Rush, as we will when we get to the main subject, I'm counting that as a Rush album, so to speak, because it's Rush connected, Rush centric. So we'll get there too. Before we do that, though, let me remind you folks that if you want to listen in on the sound samples of some of these records that we've talked about, you can always look down in the description and you'll see a link to a Spotify playlist down there. And we'll put that together so you can hear some of the music that Steve and I cover throughout the podcast. Most of this, I think, we should be good to go this week. I don't think there's anything too off base, but we'll put that in there. So check for that in the description on the BLEAVE Network down below, or on the YouTube channel or Spotify or wherever it is you are checking us out. So Steve, before we get to, I've got a couple things I want to bring up before we get into this. I was doing our new release show. Every Saturday I put together a video that has the upcoming week's releases. I put that on our YouTube channel to try to make folks think about pre-orders if they want to order. And this has caught you a few times. I know. I think that's where you saw the Sex Pistols was on the upcoming release video. So I was putting together the just the basis and getting some of the images and writing the script for this upcoming weekend's new releases coming up for June 5th, June 9th. I forget which we're coming in on this. And I run across one from Van Halen. And I thought, wait a minute. This was a Van Halen release from April's Record Store Day. And I thought, I don't remember that being a Record Store Day first, but lo and behold, I went to the Record Store Day website, and there it was. It was the Van Halen live in New Haven, Connecticut, 1986. And I see this now in our distributors for a pre-order. It's June 5th is the release day, by the way, for coming up on that Friday, the June 5th. Double LP looks to be the exact same thing that we saw on Record Store Day. So I went and checked, and yes, indeed, it did say Record Store Day exclusive. So
wow,
there you have it. It was a Record Store Day exclusive, and I think it was limited to, let's see if I can find the right one here. Excuse me. It was limited to 5,000 copies, and it was on clear vinyl. So this one that is releasing coming up here on the 5th of June is on black vinyl. But here's my beef. Yes, it was a Record Store Day exclusive, and I think that you could probably make the argument saying, well, the clear vinyl was the Record Store Day exclusive version, so this is not. But here's my take on that, Steve. There are other things called Record Store Day firsts, and the Record Store Day first is usually the colored or the special one, and then the The other reissue that they do down the line is usually a black vinyl or a different color. So what's the difference then if you call something an exclusive and then you release it just, 5 months later? Not even 5 months. What is it, April, May, June?
It's semantics, Jim. It's all about semantics there with that stuff. It was exclusive for a month and a half.
Yep.
So it was very exclusive for a month and a half. It went on Discogs. I'm sure the price jumped way up. Some people overspent on it, thinking they'll never see it again. And voila, here it is for you. And you paid way too much money. And I think you know what? I'm just not surprised. This never used to happen. You never saw this happen. It was exclusive. That was it. And now it happens. Macho Man, Savage. Now it happens more and more because you know what? They're just to your point. We changed the vinyl. It's so that clear is exclusive. Now let's cash in because everyone really liked that album, and we can make a lot more money.
But that's what I'm saying. If it's an exclusive, it should be an exclusive. If not, call it a first. Or then don't have Record Store Day first because they change the color of the vinyl on the firsts usually anyway. The firsts, when they reissue a Record Store Day first, it's never normally, I'm sure sometimes it is, but it's not usually on the same color vinyl that the Record Store Day release was. So one or the other, man. This is tedious.
It is. And well, as you always find out is they all sell out, and suddenly they find a whole pallet of them somewhere too, and it's like, oh God, look at that! It was in the bathroom. Oh, let's just shoot that out to everyone. I mean, we just found that on another album. It's like
that Pink Floyd box set looked like it was running out, but then I saw that there was a bunch more that had shown up. So here nor there.
Yeah, that Mark Knopfler, Emmylou Harris. Suddenly, there it goes. It's $80 online, but hey, we got some more.
Yeah, I've got a couple of those coming next week, actually, too. Just because I had them in the back order just in case they showed, because I knew other folks were looking for them. But anyhow, so Steve, are we insane for collecting records?
There is some definite issues that I think any psychologist would find very interesting. But talk with any collector and just kind of go, "Huh, really? Okay."
Well, you just earlier showed off the Sex Pistols, and that's your third copy of Nevermind the Bollocks, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
And
I think it could be 4.
To my knowledge, there's no big difference between the Japanese pressing, the original pressing, and the Rhino Hi-Fi pressing.
Oh, same song.
Same songs go on there. So, but we got thinking about this, and I think I saw probably another video at some point saying, what are your most collected artists? And this is an interesting exercise. Again, utilizing Discogs. If your collection is in properly, you can rearrange it and look and get a good solid count of something there too. But rather than just look at it from the completist side of things, you say, okay, Steve, I'm a Rush completist. I'm a Pink Floyd completist. We know this. I've got every single studio album and every live album from Rush. I've got a good majority of the Floyd. I've got all the studio albums, majority of the live stuff from Floyd. But above and beyond being a completist, now we get into this territory of multiple copies. Do we have that? Do we have bootleg versions of things or bootleg lives? Do we add in and do we count the artist adjacent things such as solo artists? I'm talking about Rush. Yes, I've got the Rush. I've got the Geddy Lee and I've got the Alex Lifeson solo albums. But then I've got the David Sanderson solo piano. I've got the Moving Pictures tribute albums. Does that count toward Rush? Does that the solo albums count in? So how far above and beyond being a completist into this insanity do we go when looking at our most collected artists?
I can't beat you, man. I mean, there's just no way.
When I did this exercise and I called these numbers up, Steve, I knew I had a lot of Rush albums, but I've never, seriously, believe it or not, I've never counted them or, to look at the bigger picture because I've got them in a few different places. All right. So what we've decided to do, folks, is to kind of break this down and say what our most collected artists are. And I've taken a little bit of a liberty with this because, as you're going to see with one of these, I'm counting not only his solo work, but his work with two other bands in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also, on my part, Steve, counting adjacent albums, things like solo works or bootlegs and the like. Now, again, I think early on we mentioned that these artists at the top of each of our lists are going to come to as no surprise to those that have been following us or those that have known us for a few years. And right off the bat, I'll say that Rush is my number one, and we'll get to just how number one of a collectible nut I am on this. I don't feel I am, but apparently so. But what did you come up with for your most collected artist overall?
Overall, my number one was Miles Davis. Uh, I have 51. There would be more, but I have a number of the albums that I don't have covers for, and they're packed away, so I don't have any idea. But 51 LPs, I got 4 different LP box sets and probably about 10 CD box sets that are really great. So he by far is, the one I like. But I've said a million times, the kind of blue is my favorite album of all time.
Yeah.
And so, and I only have a couple versions. Well, no, I got that super expensive $100 kind of blue from UQR, whatever.
Oh yeah, UHQRs. Yep.
Yeah, I have it in that. So okay, but that was, and then one of my top 10 albums of all times is Miles Davis, Bitches Brew. I mean, these are totally two opposite kind of albums here.
Yeah.
We got the super funk and we have the modal jazz. And I'll probably, this is a MoFi. I know I have an original and I have another version of it. And I might have another one, but I did purge some. I mean, I did purge some of my Miles because I'm looking and go, if I have a MoFi and I have an original, I don't need this other thing. And so I did, get some out. But, just a couple other of my favorite Miles albums was, again, these are MoFi. It's In a Silent Way, which he came out before Bitches Brew, which really he was changing. And then Miles in the Sky, another MoFi. Last week, Jim, I did mention when it comes to Miles, that's where I buy MoFi.
Yep.
I mean, I want to have that really the best quality sound that I can get. Some people argue, well, is it digital or not? I don't care. I like the sound. I like how it comes out. And so Miles by far has the most MoFis in my collection. But that's what I want.
So no surprise there. Your number two we'll get to is not much of a surprise either. But so here we are. So what'd you say, 50 some odd Miles Davis?
I had 51 that I know. I mean, there's some others, but yeah, 51.
All right, folks, this is, I don't know why I feel a little embarrassed about this. I should just embrace it, Steve. I should just embrace the fandom, right?
Insanity, Jim.
There we go.
Insanity. We talked about that.
Rush it's well known on this podcast that Rush is my favorite group. It's up there. No, it is my favorite. I'll say that. I have got 104 Rush and Rush adjacent albums individually in my collection. And I was like, really 104? Because at any given time, I'm looking at maybe 20 or 30 here. Then I've got some in a crate in the back room. I've got 30 or 40 at home. But all totaled, the Rush and Rush adjacent stuff comes into 104. Now, breaking that down, I did this, and this was the one surprise. I've got 6 different copies of Moving Pictures. But this includes, and I think it would have been 5, but I saw a red vinyl version that I'd been after getting a white vinyl version. So I snagged that. But I've got my original. I've got an anniversary one. I've got, and this is also counting though, I've got a live version of Moving Pictures that was released several years ago. So, realistically, I've got my original. I've got a good audiophile version, then 2 colored versions, and then a box set version. But coming in close second, this is where I thought it would have been, would have been the Permanent Waves, where I only have 5 different copies of Permanent Waves in the collection, as opposed to
Oh
6.
man.
I'm going to have to remedy that. But,
Wow.
I've got my original. I've got a 180 gram. I've got a Canadian version with the headline on there, and then a couple of other ones in there too. So then rounding that out, 5 copies of 2112. I've even got my little bumper sticker in there that I've never put on, but 5 different. I've got a Canadian version of 2112 and a couple of live versions of that as well. All's told, I've got 34 live bootlegs of various Rush albums kicking in through here. Some of them are repeat. I've gotten a lot more careful about that, but
Yeah.
they're not all live. Some of them are just different bootleg versions of stuff that comes through there. So yeah, that was, to see that number splayed out was a little bit eye-opening for me. So
Yeah.
does that mean I'm going to stop? Probably not.
Yeah. Now, if I looked at the different solo artists, if you look at Miles Davis, think of all the people that played for that. You
Yeah.
could go on for ages and ages.
Well, yeah, and if he's on an album with somebody
it would
else, yep,
explode.
yep.
Yeah, yeah. Herbie Hancock and all these guys. But wow, that's 101, 104.
104.
Congrats.
Gee, thanks.
Yeah,
What
you could make a house of Rush.
I could. And, the thing is that I am by far not the most out there Rush fan that I've ever met. I know there's a lot of
Yeah.
people out there that have or have had a lot more in there. So where do you come on in at number 2? Number 2 is also not a
Number
surprise.
2. Yeah. Hold on. I kind of put that all out of order there. Here. All right. So my number 2 is Pink Floyd. And Pink Floyd, I have 35 albums. If I took out Dark Side of the Moon, it'd probably be 10. So no, but Pink Floyd again. I'm not a completist on them. I'm not a completist on Miles Davis. There's just some that I don't need to have, and there's some on Pink Floyd I don't need to have. But there are 35, and a few of them, Piper's at the Gates of Dawn. I absolutely think this is a wonderful, incredibly good album. This one's grown on me through the years. When I was younger, I go, well, that's kind of weird. But now, I absolutely love it. Wish You Were Here is my favorite Pink Floyd album.
Yep.
Most days. But then there is, Dark Side of the Moon. There's the MoFi version of that, which as a youngster, that was mind blowing. It's just that's just like, what the heck is this? This is the most amazing album I'd ever heard when I was young, and it's always stayed with me as something really exciting. We do have a lot of bootlegs. You and I, a bootleg comes in and then you throw out the fishing line at it. Then we wind up both, generally getting it because we both really, really like Pink Floyd. And they're, especially now, these bootlegs are coming out by Steven Wilson and everything. So the quality's great. Some of them are maybe the same concert, different night. But there's quite a few. And I also have some real crap bootlegs from Pink Floyd.
Yep. Oh, I do as well. Yep.
But
now that the catalog has been sold and they're bringing in Steven Wilson, I think we're going to see a lot of these older bootlegs getting that treatment. And that's going to be a good thing. But now, will we need to keep those original bootlegs? And a lot of those older bootlegs have some very cool covers. So the answer is probably yes. Well, my number 2 comes in as well as yours, Steve, is Pink Floyd as well. Although in counting, and I'm counting the adjacents here, so I've got 86 Pink Floyd or Pink Floyd adjacent albums in my collection. Of course,
wow,
leading the pack on this is Dark Side of the Moon, and between the reissues here and there and different live versions of Dark Side, I've got 13 different copies of Dark Side of the Moon. But I've also counted like the Flaming Lips version of Dark Side of the Moon. I've got a dub Side of the Moon, and I counted the Richard Cheese. I know it wasn't the full thing, but I counted it in there. So 13 copies of that. But in and amongst the Floyd, I've also counted, I've got 4 David Gilmour solo albums, 3 from Roger Waters, 2 Rick Wright, 2 Sid Barrett albums, and 1 Nick Mason, and that's a live one. Coming in second on mine was the Wish You Were Here. I think I've got 6 different versions of that, including the live, including a like an alternate and outtakes version. 4 copies of Animals, the remix, the original, and I think an alternate version as well, and through there. And 25, I thought I had a lot more. I had 25 different bootlegs from Pink Floyd right now, and I really thought that there was more, but this is one of my favorite, is the Montreux Live 1970. This is just a really good one, and it sounds good too, so if they ever do this one, it's going to be hard to give up this cover and such for that one.
Yeah.
So again, no surprise with my top 2, but still kind of shocking to lay it out there to say, okay, there's 86 Pink Floyd and Pink Floyd connected albums in the collection that I would count.
When we're looking at these, when you have this multiple copies, there's a guy in the VC that I'm friends with. His name's Martin Jones. He's out of Detroit. He takes completism to the upper, even beyond insanity, where he tries to get every copy from every country. He'll be showing these Kiss records, and this one's from Portugal, this one's from Spain, exact same, but that's what he wants. And he does that with so many groups, from Marilyn Manson to Kiss to my number 3 group. That's called a segue. The Cramps. Yay!
Yeah, there we go.
The Cramps, 33 albums from the Cramps. They didn't have that many studio albums,
No,
but
they
there
didn't.
is a lot of bootlegs from the Cramps. A lot. And a lot are the same with different covers, and you just don't always know it. But I am a just huge fan of them. And let's see here. Again, top albums, top 10, Dark Side of the Moon I especially Wish You Were Here, top 10 album for me. We have the Cramps, Songs the Lord Taught Us. This comes in right after Miles Davis because they're perfect companion pieces. But I mean, this album, when I had a friend play it for me, was so mind blowing. I was like, where has this been my whole life? And so I had that. Bad Music for Bad People. I have a couple copies. I do have a couple copies of this one. Songs the Lord Taught Us. So I have that. One of the exciting ones is their last album, Fiends of Dope Island. I had a hard time finding this. I finally found one in a store. Wanted way too much money. It was sealed, but they were they're being greedy, Jim.
Oh my!
But then one came up some other place. I think I found it in a store, it was online, whatever. But I got it for a decent price, and this was the last one I needed to have all their studio albums. So as far as studio albums, I can say I'm a completist with the Cramps. Other stuff, no, I'm not. I have a number of EPs, but I'm not trying to get them all. And then, of course, you got the bootlegs. And then this was a neat one. Cramps put out a 3D album. It does have the 3D glasses in there, Off the Bone. And, the early Cramps is by far my favorite. But, yeah, this is just a cool 3D looking cover. You throw them glasses on, and it looks really nice. So my friend Martin Jones, though, he would be he's by far a completist with the Cramps, too. He would have it all. So, yeah, 33, almost to Pink Floyd.
Almost. Well, I take a big jump with my 3rd and then 4th. They're very close in this, but the 104 down to 86. Now I jump down, and this was actually kind of surprising to me because I don't think I'm a completist, and I'm not going to be after hearing some of their new stuff. But This is the Rolling Stones. I've got 34 different Rolling Stones albums through here. And really no solo. I don't have any other solo stuff other than, I don't want to count this, but I will count the Jamming with Edward as a Stones album, even though it's missing a couple of people. Nicky Hopkins and Ry Cooder joined Jagger, Wyman, and Charlie. But I'll still count it. But the Stones stuff I enjoy. Their older stuff I like, but the 80s, that's the soft spot. You get something like Tattoo You, and I've got that. And with I mean, unlike Rush and unlike Pink Floyd, I don't have any. Here's a nice little copy of Exile, which I think is one of my favorites on there as well. But the only Rolling Stones that I have more than one copy of, and this is the reason, is Some Girls, because you've got those two
Yeah.
variations of the faces, and then after the lawsuit, the censored version that go through there. But much like something like a Police Synchronicity, even with these two different variations, you've got different color variations of the font and the color schemes on the front to work with. So I work to make sure that if I'm going to have two copies, they're going to be matching esque with the theme, the color theme on there. So I mean, 34. It shows that they've got a lot, and I do have the last one that came out, the Hackney Diamonds. I've listened to it maybe once or twice. It's not my favorite, but there is another Rolling Stones album coming out. I don't know if you've listened to the song yet. It's just maybe I just need to listen to it again, but it is just not impressive.
I'm not going to buy it. I mean, I didn't buy Hackney. I have 19 Rolling Stone albums, and my last one was the Tattoo You, and I just had no interest after that, and still don't. I know if I bought it, I wouldn't play it. If I go and pull a Rolling Stones album, I'm going to pull Some Girls.
Yep.
I mean, that was my first. That was my first love. Though I do like their blues stuff. But there's just so much cool new stuff coming out that I just don't do it. But yeah.
They fall behind. So what comes in next for you then?
Next is Talking Heads. That was my first love. I say Talking Heads is the album that made me an adult. You went from, some of the Kiss and Sweet and all that, the high school stuff. And then I get into college and I get the Talking Heads. And it changed, what I began to buy. It just, it moved me in a whole new direction. And to try to be cool, it never really worked out. But it's just, they really, their discography isn't that huge. But they had some just incredible albums. And I think I do have all of their albums. But with 20, there is a few multiple copies. For instance, and I didn't count this. I could have said this is 2. This is my original here, but I don't have the cover. But then I bought the Rhino reissue of Talking Heads Remain in Light, which is my favorite Talking Heads album. So I could have I just didn't think about that, because I could do the same with, here we got Talking Heads, take the one, More Songs About Buildings and Bricks. There's the original in there, and there is the Rhino reissue.
Yep.
And the Rocktober one, Fear of Music, there's the original. So I guess I even have more than 20, Jim, if you look at that.
Could,
right? Yep. And of course, Stop Making Sense, I think, is the greatest concert film ever to me. I mean, I never get bored of that. It's so exciting. So for me, Talking Heads, after Remain in Light, they had the next album that had, Burning Down the House. It did quite well. But I thought the experimentation began to kind of fall. And I mean, each new album when I was younger, they put out, I go, what the hell are they doing? And then after a month or so, I go, oh man, this is fantastic. But they always would catch me, go, God, that's not like the last album that I loved. What are they? But that's just what, it was good. And I've wound up, hey, I've just loved their stuff. So that was number 20, Jim.
I come in next.
I mean, not number 20.
Number 20. I come in next with, and this is where we're going to have to kind of make some decisions on how we're framing things here. Bob Mould, as an artist, has been in multiple different bands and has had a very prolific solo career as well. But as we've talked before, you and I were kind of a sucker with these box set series that he put out 5 years ago or so. Yeah. But the box sets contained each of his albums from throughout his era after Husker Du. So Bob Mould, all total, if I count Bob Mould as an artist, this is his album, Here We Go Crazy from 2025, so a year ago. Good albums too, by the way. 32 different Bob Mould albums in my collection. That spans, I think I've got maybe 2 Husker Du, a couple of Sugar albums, several Bob Mould solo albums throughout there. But I count the box sets. Okay, I've got those 4 box sets, right? But do you count the individual albums from those box sets, which I did to get me to that 32? Without, and there were 6 albums, I think, or more in each of them. So, but I counted them because they're individual albums inside that box set.
Yeah. Now, if I had done that, Fela Kuti, okay,
There you
because I
go.
got 3 of them. That's 8. That's 24. I have 16. So there's 30. There's 40. Plus, I have a bunch of them that I lost covers to. That again, I don't know. They're boxed up right now. I have a lot of Fela that I mean tons, but he put out like 5 albums a year, one song on each side that went on for 20 minutes.
Yep.
So I mean, he was pretty prolific, just like, well, I'm only doing 2 songs, but we'll make them last, because he had the groove going. So that if I did that, that would pop it up. Otherwise, the Rolling Stones was 19. I had 19 Stones albums, and I don't think I have any duplicates in there.
Yep.
Yes, but it goes up to Tattoo You.
Through there. I come in kind of rounding out my list here with They Might Be Giants. No surprise on that one again. I've talked about these guys.
Yeah.
I'm apparently a completist, and I think I may be missing one, so we'll see where I go with this. But this is the first They Might Be Giants, going all the way back to 1982. Their self-titled. They call this the Pink Album. I don't want to call this, but I've actually had this in my collection since probably about 85 or so. And I've got 2 different copies of this They Might Be Giants, all the way through their new one from earlier this year, The World Is to Dig, which I also think is a really cool album. But all total, oh my, 29 They Might Be Giants records in my collection, wow. Steve.
I'm just a piker, man. I got so many albums. It's like this group had only 3 albums. Oh, I guess I got them all, or I only wanted one from them.
Yep.
The one that kind of surprised me is, we talked about Zeppelin. There's only 16. There's bootlegs. I don't have every Zeppelin, but Velvet Underground. I had 16 Velvet Underground albums, and their catalog isn't that big.
No, they're not.
Again, there's 2 of the first one, 2 of the second one, 2 of the third album, and then you got in the Doug Yule Velvet Underground, and then you have the live different ones. So it was a pretty good amount. I thought I have, I think, a lot of the Velvet discography. So toward completists on that. In my first collection, Jim, I really was working, to the completists. I mean, I had a list. I had these books, and I would check off every album I had, and I'd be looking, oh man, I need this Van Morrison. I need this. But when you had the space, you could do that.
Yep.
Then, when I went to a smaller record room, I can't do this anymore. And I've been okay. I survived not having it all, and try to bring in the stuff that I really want to listen to. Do I want it? No, there's more. I mean, I purged out a bunch, but there's still, more can go.
And I'm probably going to get there too. So were there any other artists that popped up on your radar as far as being fairly prolific?
Really, it just gets down to like 13 Clifton Cheniers. If I took the box set, he'd probably jump up to 19. Of all people. Yes, Zydeco is big in my collection. But otherwise, there's like 10 of this, 10 of that, 10 Lou Reed, which I could have put to Velvet, but I didn't. So, yeah. How about you?
I round out like with 20 Bob Seger, pretty much the Michigan side of things. I want that for the Michigan collection, but also some cool stuff. So, and I don't have any duplicates in the Seger. So obviously I'm going through the system and Silver Bullet and some live stuff and maybe a couple of bootlegs through there. 20 Black Sabbath, but I didn't count any extraneous Ozzy or Dio in that. So just 20 Black Sabbath straight up. 18 Fleetwood Mac with no repeats on that as well. That was surprising to me. And then we get down to, I have 17 Beatles albums. Far, not a completist in any way, shape, or form, but I still had a decent amount of them through in there as well. So
Yeah. I had like 10 Howlin' Wolf albums and 9 Muddy Waters albums.
Huh.
I was kind of happy with that to see that much blues in there. But yeah. And I could have missed an artist, that I might have a lot of. I got, yeah, if I looked at box sets, I think I could add on like a Luna. I would have a bunch. And if I went more, Galaxy 500, Dean Wareham, Britta. I mean, they're all part of that. And that would explode that collection up quite a bit. But yeah, it's interesting when you look at this and you go, wow, that's a lot of stuff. And then you keep pulling out the same damn album every time.
Yep, and you question it. So I had one other thing because of the way I catalog my records on Discogs. I've got them separated into folders. But I've got a separate folder where I tag the Michigan music. And you know that I'm a big collector of all things Michigan. The number of them that I've tagged in there, and it's going to come a little bit further because not all of the Michigan artists, the bigger ones, like Cooper or Seeger, I have tagged in there, but 220 in the Michigan collection for me,
Wow.
which is, I think, pretty good.
Boy, yeah, that is. You might be missing one or two, but you should have them pretty much all pretty
No,
soon.
there's even more that I'm not even, I've got some in the store here. I'm like, should I? And I'm like, no, I don't need that in there. We're good. I don't need that duo that put out one album in the 70s self-released because it's not that good, just because it's Michigan. But here and there. So folks, what do you have in your collections that stands out, that goes above and beyond being a completist? Something that if you were to look at the numbers, you'd go, wow, really? Really? So what are your most collected artists? Chime in below in the comments and let us know and see where you think. And I'd like to hear too, are you surprised if you've not really been paying attention to those numbers and just collecting, that when you do finally look at the numbers, you go, holy smokes, really? That's what I've got? Wow. Because like you said, Steve, it is kind of surprising when you actually sit back and look at the bigger picture.
Yeah, it is. You just wind up, you're just buying it because you like it. I like this artist and never really look until you get a whole full cube and you go, God, that's a lot. Like, Miles Davis is, almost 2.
Well, it's made me question my sanity, but not enough to say I'm ready to purge most of them yet. I'll get there eventually, but not now. I'm good for now. Thanks.
We'll have to work on that rush for you.
I'll still try, especially if they're going to put out a new album with the new drummer, as they're rumored to. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there, Steve. All right, folks. You have been watching and listening to two guys talking about records of Vinyl Community Podcast. Having a blast as always. So until next time, my name's Jim, and I own a record store, and apparently I've gone overboard with a few collections here and there myself.
Yeah. Jim has issues, but I'm Steve with not the issues Jim has, but a record collector. So
you've got a whole set of issues. You're on your own.
Yeah, I do.
All right. Thanks a lot, Steve, and thanks everybody for watching. We'll talk to you next time.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.